Hi, my name is Carrie Nicholson, and I'm with Meritrust Credit Union in our Financial Education Department. Today, I'm going to share a little bit with you about budgeting, what a budget is, why it's important, and how we actually create our own budget. So first, what is a budget? A lot of people have different understandings of what a budget is, but really when it comes down to it, all it is just a plan for how we anticipate using our income and our expenses. So there's three major components when it comes to a budget. The first one is our income, so which is money just coming in. The second component is our expenses, and all this is just money going out on things that we're needing to spend money on. The third component here is timing. So when is your money coming in, your income, and when are your expenses going out? So that is your basis of what a budget actually is. Okay, so let's go a little bit more into the expense side now. So I've got 4 different types of expenses to share with you. So number 1 are fixed expenses. These expenses are, of course, fixed. They stay the same month to month. So things like your rent payment, maybe your cell phone payment, those things stay regular. You know that they're going to be the same amount every month. Next, we have variable expenses. These expenses change. So things like gasoline, groceries, clothing, things that do not have a set amount that are going to stay consistent every month. We know that you'll probably need to buy groceries every month, but it may not be the same amount as it was last month. Next are planned expenses. So you know that these are expenses that you are planning for, that you know are going to happen. You are well aware that you have these expenses coming up and you have planned for them. Number 4, the type of expense is unplanned. So these are expenses that come up, maybe a spontaneous or an impulse buy. You went out with your friends and got some ice cream or bought a movie or went shopping that you weren't planning for, or it can also be emergency expenses. So maybe either on your car or on your bicycle, a tire went flat and now you need to fix that and you need to pay for that tire to get fixed. So these are unplanned expenses. So let's talk a little bit about why a budget is actually important. So the first reason is it helps us to plan ahead. If we know our budget a month ahead of time before it actually happens, then that gives us the opportunity to make plans with that money. So maybe we want to take a small vacation or start saving or do something else with our finances, then it gives us the ability to actually make those plans. The second reason is it helps us to make changes ahead of time if we need to or want to make changes to our budget. So if we look at the month that hasn't happened yet, we can see if we're positive cash flow or negative cash flow. So all that is just taking our income and subtracting our expenses from that number. If we have a negative number, that means that we spent more than we earned. So we actually need to make changes to that by either increasing our income, decreasing our expenses, or doing a little bit of both of those things. So before, if we didn't see what was happening, then we wouldn't be able to help ourselves get out of that situation or change it. But this helps us to make changes ahead of time. The third reason here is it helps us to set realistic goals. So if we decide that we would like to save $50 a month, every single month, well, we first have to know if we have $50 available for us to actually save. So when you do the math, your income minus your expenses, and again find out what's left over, then that can tell you what number you have available to either spend, save, give, invest, or do any of those things, a combination of those things, to help you meet those realistic goals that you have for your finances and for your personal life. Okay, so now let's talk about creating your own budget. How do you do that? The first step I would recommend is let's pick a time frame. So do you want to look at one entire month, or would you like to just look at the next week? You decide, but once you have your time frame, the next step is to determine how much income that you have coming in during that time. So do you have money coming in from work? Do you have gifts or allowances that you're anticipating? Are you holding any sort of garage sale or selling any belongings? So write down all of your income that you have and when you anticipate that income coming in. The next thing is to write down all of your expenses. So what expenses do you have? Gasoline, groceries, rent, entertainment, hanging out with friends. Write down all of your expenses, each one individually, and when you anticipate those things happening as well in that given time frame. The last step here is to take your income and subtract out your expenses to see the remaining balance. If you're positive, then you're good. If you're negative, then you may need to make some changes. Like I mentioned before, either increase your income, decrease your expenses, or do a little bit of both of those things. So that makes up how you create your own budget. So today we've covered what is a budget, why it's important, and how to create your own. So now you are equipped with all this information, and it's time for you to go create your own budget.